have a treat for you today. We have a few of the experts from Deloitte on sustainability, and they're going to talk to us about some really interesting use cases and solutions that they have to help enterprises be able to actually take sustainability and put it into action for their business. So I've got a fabulous crew here with me. So let's start with some introductions. My name is Jillian Ford. I'm a startup solutions architect, and I am here first. Let's start with Dominique.
Thanks, Gillian. It's awesome to be here, and thank you so much for the opportunity. I lead from Deloitte our global AWS sustainability portfolio, and I know there's a lot of lingo and language out there, and it's ESG, and it's a bunch of other things, but essentially it's all of the above. So everything that we do that helps our people, planet, and prosperity that is tied to our AWS technology, that's my job. Maybe Brett can go next.
Yeah. And Brett?
Hi, I'm Brett Stevenson. I'm a product manager at Deloitte, and I'm responsible for the Path Net Zero solution that we'll be talking about today.
Fantastic. And I'm really looking forward to seeing that. I'm sure a lot of people are going to want to see it too. Nathan?
Great. Thanks, Jillian. And hi, everybody. Thanks for having me. I'm Nathan Stiegs. I'm a partner in our sustainability practice, and I lead our decarbonization and climate work in the Canadian member firm. So thanks for having me and look forward to the discussion.
Oh, fantastic. So businesses, I've been really interested in sustainability for a while. It's not something that's new, but it is a challenge really to actually implement. At least a lot of people think it is. So, maybe we can start with, why is it now that maybe businesses that say, okay, this is a priority, why should they actually implement it now as a priority for their business?
Maybe I'll start with that, Jillian. So, global climate models are really showing us that unchecked climate change could lead to average temperature rise of over 4 degrees centigrade by the turn of the century. The global scientific community has come out and issued, frankly, a code red for humanity. And if we don't take rapid and coordinated actions to address climate change, it's going to continue to impact our economy and ecosystems for the decades to come. So a recent model that Deloitte did really looked at the impacts of unchecked climate change over the next 50 years. And we're looking at impacts of over $178 trillion out to 2070. What we also looked at, though, however, is if we can act now and address the energy transition and move toward a net zero economy, we could actually look to add as much as $40 trillion of growth over that same period. And so our clients and the C-level executives truly understand this global imperative. And I think given this awareness, our CEOs, chief sustainability executives are really looking for robust tools that are rooted in the science and are data-driven, that can help organizations plan and deploy those solutions at scale.
Wow. Trillions as the economic impact. I think that'll definitely get anyone's attention of why it is that really now this is something that we should get started with. Dominique, is there anything that you want to add?
You read my mind. Thank you, Gillian. Beyond what Nathan has outlined as the imperative, we also have social pressures. The social activism that is taking place, and people are choosing products to purchase based on how sustainable they have been made. So whether there is a regulatory imperative to be able to report and hence needing to have this transparency of your scope 3 emissions and the list of imperatives for regulatory reporting continues to grow, there's that piece of it too. I think about it like a carrot and a stick. Regulators are there to help us get there faster. In addition, if we think about the most recent bill that got passed in the United States around the IRA, so the Inflation Reduction Act, that is a huge amount of incentives for businesses to be able to act now, even though those regulations aren't yet quite as far along as they are in Europe. In the United States, the regulations are coming. Societal requirements and pressures are here, in addition to the imperatives that Nathan described. So all around, there's a lot of pressures for businesses to act.
Yeah, I mean, pressures. And I know Nathan was saying that some businesses have chief sustainability officers that have already said, hey, this is a real priority. And there are other businesses that haven't gone to that step, but definitely want to. So maybe, Brett, if you can kind of walk us through maybe how is it that these businesses that want to take action aren't really sure how? What's a clear path for them to be able to go from, okay, it's a priority to now we're actually doing something about it?
Yeah, absolutely. So, we're seeing that the market's at a turning point, and nearly every executive in every company is thinking about this at this moment. And it's really a journey for all of us. And no action is insignificant, but certain activities and decisions are move the needle more than others. And so, what we're really helping our clients figure out is what actions are really going to make the biggest differences, and how can we help them make bold decisions that turn sustainability challenges into opportunities for growth. um, the technology plays a major role, and that's a big piece of what we're talking about today. And really, the way that Deloitte looks at its ESG and decarbonization services is that it's tech enabled, and really it is how you kind of gather the data and break down the decisions and order your thinking in order to really understand what path to take. But then it also plays a role in integrating into the systems and processes that you have throughout your organization that guide how you take action and circle back to learn from the action that you take. And so it's a really exciting piece.
Yeah, and I think it'd be fantastic because I know a lot of businesses like, all right, so I mean, all this sounds are things that are important. We want to be able to measure decarbonization, and a solution that I know that your team has built actually allows them to be able to take action and be able to see the impact of their strategy. So maybe if you could show us what that looks like.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd love to. So first, just a little bit about it. The Path to Net Zero solution that Deloitte has is a multifaceted enterprise grade solution to help clients achieve net zero. It, as I mentioned, helps them get to the right answers, but also helps them carry that through to the operational transformation, and then connects into the wealth of services that the capacities we have throughout the organization to deliver on that broader transformation, both in decarbonization and connected into the social and other environmental pieces that are all interconnected and part of the big picture. So what the solution is it brings basically three things. One is it has an end-to-end capability, which is about the strategy. It's a modular function that allows client-centered solutions where, regardless of where they are on the journey, we can match them and help them get to kind of the right answers. And it uses a library that's been built based on 7,200 client engagements that focuses on how it connects into tax incentives, emission factors, benchmarking, abatement libraries, so they can get really solid, robust answers in any industry. The second piece is, which is really about the translation into action, is connecting into the enterprise grade systems that people have. It's built on what our Cortex AI platform, which is interoperable with the technology stack that companies already have, but also, and then provides this cloud agnostic, terabyte scale, robust security, scalability that large enterprises need, and the AI and analytics components that allow us to wrangle data and make data ingestion not a nightmare, basically. And then the last piece that's really important is working to build that solution over time, because it's the start of the market and everybody's evolving so quickly. And we know that things aren't going to look the same 6 months from now, a year from now, 2 years from now. And so we have different innovation centers throughout Deloitte that are focusing on different parts of the problem and feeding that back into the solution, so that we're building for what people need kind of at the next stage. So maybe we can pull up a demo. This is a piece of the solution that I wanted to show you. And it's really for organizations that are just getting started in their journey, trying to figure out where to start, what choices to make that are going to have the most measurable impacts, what they can do now and what they need to do in the future. And this is the starting screen of it. And these are essentially the steps that we take clients through using the technology. And we'll actually go to the next screen, which is really where you end up at the end of the day. So the first piece in the light gray is really looking at your emissions as it stands right now. What's the profile of your company? And then the dark gray is forecasting those out into the future. The blue boxes beside that represent a portfolio of abatement projects that the program lets you, helps you determine to reduce your emissions, which basically brings you to the orange bar. And then the green piece is the target that we help you set. And then you can see in the pink how the orange and the green connect. So basically how close you're getting to your target and how much of a gap you still have. So I'll walk you through some of the steps within the program that essentially allow you to go from the left side of this curve to the end of knowing kind of where you should focus and where you stand relative to your goals. Next slide, please. So to get in here, users have to put in basically two pieces of information. One is all the information on your emission sources, and the second piece is the abatement projects that are at their disposal. And companies come to us with a variety of different maturities basically on those two things. And Deloitte can either help them pull these things together to put into the system, and some companies to come to us more ready than others. Next slide, please. So the first piece is looking at where you stand. Next screen. And once you put in all your data on your emission sources, we give you a profile of basically all the hotspots in your organization from a scope 1 and scope 2 perspective and scope 3. And then you can look at things from a geographic perspective or a business unit perspective. Next screen, which is what this slide is. Next. So the next step is basically figuring out how aggressive you should be once you understand your profiles. So it starts with a forecast of your emissions based on business as usual. And then next screen, it goes into the emission profiles, pathways that have been calculated based on community accepted climate trajectories that relate to basically, whether do you want to get to net zero by 2050 or 2070? And do you want negative emissions involved or not? And then you can start seeing what the gap is between your business as usual and these different pathways. Next piece is basically looking at how the different abatement projects compare to each other. And we have something called Marginal Abatement Curve, which basically shows you all the different projects relative to each other based on how much emissions they provide and how economic they are. So in this curve, you really want things to be negative, so on the bottom half of the curve, and to be as wide as possible. And so this helps you pinpoint the projects that are the most important. And then it's anchored on a carbon price. So depending on what carbon price you predict out, it changes the profile of the curve. And so you can play with understanding how you want to think about how the future is going to play out. The next piece is about where and when should you invest. So what can you take action on now, and what should you space out in order for kind of a maximal both emissions outcome and business outcome. And so the system has an optimization function that cuts the data in a variety of ways and puts together a portfolio for you that tells you when you should invest in which projects. And then it translates it into, next screen, a business profile of what your cash flow and investment outlay looks like, and really helps you integrate that into your business operations. And then the last piece brings us back all the way to the beginning, basically that brings all these pieces together and showing you how those chosen abatement projects that are optimized in the portfolio result in a decreased emissions output, and then how that connects to your targets. And from here, you can either go back to the drawing board and set different targets, or pick different emissions abatement projects, or you can move to the implementation stage, which, as I mentioned, is a whole another piece that we're actively working on, helping these companies translate basically the aspirations that come through this, a strategy, into operational realities.
Wow, I love that there are so many different aspects to that like chief financial officers, sustainability officers, CIOs have to think about, and that you've simply been able to show all the different pieces that are really important, the tax incentives, decarbonization at the end. And it's fantastic that it's built on AWS. So I know a lot of people who probably want to be able to get started. Where should they actually go to actually, how do they contact you if they want to actually be able to implement this for their business?
Well, I know I use this as a joke, but it rings easier to remember. So when in doubt, dial Deloitte. And we have a pretty simple email alias that'll curate all the questions associated with the broader ESG topics. So, and that is, it's AWS Sustainability at Deloitte.com. So all things on AWS that relate to sustainability at Deloitte.com.
All right, and we can make sure we can drop it in the chat. And you all are having a session at reInvent that people should definitely check out. If you want to tell them a little bit more about it.
Yeah, we're going to have a hospitality suite that we are going to be having panel discussions and additional demos. So this is just a sneak peek of one of the many things that we have. And so we'll be bringing additional solutions to reInvent and demoing those real time as well. So if you're interested in coming, shoot us an email. We'll make sure to get you the invitation.
Oh, fantastic. Well, Dominique, Brett, Nathan, this has been an exciting conversation. I'm sure a lot of people are really excited to engage with you and get this started for this their business. Thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.